254-7127 or go online, aflre.com.
We'll be coming on in a minute, folks.
Tampa Bay's only conservative station. AM 860, The Answer. WGUL, Dunedin. Download the Answer Tampa app or listen online at theanswertampa.com. Tune in at Odyssey. Here's the latest from the Answer News Center.
With SRN News, I'm Michael Harrington in Washington. Former President Trump was in the Keystone State Saturday, urging voters to cast their ballots for Republicans.
Biden and the far-left lunatics are waging war on Pennsylvania energy, crushing Pennsylvania jobs, gutting Pennsylvania communities, and strangling Pennsylvania families with soaring prices like you've never seen before.
Mr. Trump has 2 more rallies scheduled around the country today, with Election Day less than 48 hours off. Residents in southeastern Oklahoma and northeastern Texas assessing damage and working to recover after tornadoes tore through the region last week and killed at least 2 people. Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt toured the town of Idabel yesterday, where buildings were flattened and a 90-year-old man lost his life in the nearby town of Pickens. This is SRN News. A close call for moms and dads in one mid-Atlantic state.
Democrats recently proposed a bill in Virginia, now withdrawn, that would have allowed parents who didn't affirm their child's gender identity to be criminally prosecuted.
Carol Platt-Liebau, president of the Yankee Institute for Public Policy, says
this law was another attempt to establish the principle that it's the government, not their parents, who are the actual decision makers when it comes to our children.
Democrats said the legislation was designed to, quote, educate parents. Liebau made her comments to townhall.com. The Jesus Film Project says the iconic movie is now available in its 2000th translation, a language spoken largely in parts of Asia. That language is called Zo, and it's the native tongue of most people in Myanmar, as well as millions of refugees who now live in this country. The new translation has already been screened for local refugees and immigrants in Dallas and Atlanta. This is SRN News.
Writing a Christian book, you're doing an amazing thing, getting it all down on paper. But once you've got the manuscript, then what? Well, you can spend a year or more trying to find a publisher, or you can cut right to the chase. Make your book real with Zulon Press. Finding a publisher is time-consuming and uncertain. With Zulon Press, things are quick and definite. They specialize in one thing, helping Christian authors put their books in print. Zulon Press will publish your book. Zulon Press gets it into bookstores. Your book is on Amazon. Work with Zulon Press, and there's no question, you are a published author. If you're writing a Christian book, get your free publishing guide from Zulon Press. Just log on to christianpublishing.com. That's christianpublishing.com. Zulon Press. Book publishing by Christians for Christians. Get your free publishing guide at christianpublishing.com. Zulon Press is a division of Salem Communications, the same people who bring you this nifty radio station.
The following program is sponsored by Bay Area Medical Can Care Clinic.
The latest from AccuWeather at the top and bottom of the hour. Only on AM 860, The Answer.
Today we'll have variable clouds with a passing shower or 2 in the afternoon. The high will be 88. Tonight, clear skies and a low 69. Tomorrow, partly sunny with a high 87. Tuesday, low clouds, then perhaps some sun. It'll be breezy in the afternoon with a high 86. Playing with confidence, download the redesigned AccuWeather app today. That's your AccuWeather forecast. I'm Garrett Beck for AM 860, The Answer.
And I'm on. This is Dr. Bill, your radio MD. I got Ken by my side, I hope.
Yes, you do, sir.
Oh, thank God. I thought you ran off to the bathroom and forgot about me.
Oh, no. I'm always with you, Doc.
Okay, good. I feel better now. And we're doing a radio show. We're also streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, and I don't know what other platforms. Ken, I had a big problem. My video camera that I'd use for my podcast, the little port that you put the power plug in, it won't hold the power plug anymore. So now I had to switch over to my Pentax single lens reflex camera. I don't know how long it'll hold up, but if it dies on us, oh my God, they just won't leave me alone.
Well, that's why we don't use cameras here.
And it works well. I'm turning my phone off. I've had enough of these.
Radio.
I've had enough of these people. Any rate, so my knee, I was telling you before the show, my knee, oh my God, it's about twice the size my right knee of my left knee. It's full of fluid. I had an MRI on Thursday. I'm going to go see my orthopod on Monday, tomorrow. Dr. McConney, he's across the street, the building next to St. Pete General. Nice guy and a really good doctor. His parents were from India, but he's an American-born guy and well-trained. And he actually took care of Tom Brady and Gronkowski.
Cool.
He was up in Boston, and I guess the clinic he worked for when he was a resident, they were the team doctors, so he got to take care of them. And he apparently has their jerseys hanging in his office that are signed by the two guys. So he
Very nice.
well, you know, the orthopods, they like to affiliate with a sport team, and because it gives them reputability, I guess. So we have a guy named Coco Eaton over here in St. Pete, and he's been, I think, with the Rays and the Bucks and a few other teams off and on over the years, and everybody thinks he's a wonderful doctor. I don't know that makes you any better of a doctor to be a team doctor, but it certainly gives you some PR. And
some swag, apparently.
You get some swag out of it. You got that right. So you're asking me before the show about the amoxicillin shortage. Well,
Yeah, I read this morning some sort of shortage.
well, here's the deal. Now, there's been a surge in the respiratory syncytial virus, which is a virus that almost everybody contracts at some point in their life. But in kids, it can cause more of a fever and a cold, and especially the younger kids. If you're under a year, under 6 months, you can get really sick from it. I've got a neighbor whose 2.5-year-old granddaughter is in the hospital up in Boston on the ventilator with it. Well, with the surge in the respiratory syncytial virus, which is similar to the flu virus in the way that it affects you, there's been an increased use of pediatric amoxicillin, you know, the powdered amoxicillin. Amoxicillin is the antibiotic that's commonly prescribed by the pediatricians. Oh my God, they're such weenies, Ken. We don't use amoxil hardly ever. But they think that you don't, a lot of them think that you don't need to treat childhood infections because half of them are viral and they'll go away. I can't tell you how many kids I see, Canadian kids, that come in the door screaming with an earache because their doctor didn't want to treat it up in Canada. What's wrong with those Canadians? We can't let them come across the border anymore, Ken. Oh, my God.
No, the Canadians are good.
They're good. They're nice people. They just have
Of all the people in the world.
They have a terrible health care system. I'll talk about that a little bit later. But so the shortage is not in the tablets or the capsules. It's in the powdered stuff, you know, the little cherry flavored stuff that you buy for your kids and your grandkids. Nice. You shake it up and you give them a teaspoonful, hold them down, hold their nose. Usually takes 2 or 3 people. My son, when he got sick, he would come to me and you have to take care of me, Dad, because they won't make me take my medicine. So I'd pin him down and hold his nose and pour it in. And he cried and kicked and screamed, but he always came back to me and said, "You have to make me take it." And go figure that. But anyway,
Mary Poppins had the best solution to that.
Yeah,
a spoonful of sugar.
A spoonful of sugar, yeah. Well, they put all kinds of artificial sweeteners in that stuff now. I don't think they put sugar in it anymore, Ken, because...
Well, that's probably good, actually.
You know, the mothers, they all think sugar is bad and it causes hyperactivity, although there's no data to show that. But that's okay.
Well, we get too much sugar through the rest of...
Well, I think what happens is the kids, when they get sugar and treats, they're usually in a group or at a party, or they're having some kind of an event. And, of course, they're going to be revved up, and you give them a little fuel, and, you know, they're going to go. But there's no data, at least I have not seen any data to show that sugar causes the kids to be hyperactive.
So that's another wives' tale, an old wives' tale, eh?
Yeah, and it's still persistent, too. At any rate, this respiratory syncytial virus, it has a low mortality rate, and almost every kid has come in contact with it by the time they're 2 or 3 years old. It's just so ubiquitous. It rarely causes people to be hospitalized, but occasionally, like this one child, who I know of, granddaughter of one of our neighbors, actually is in the hospital and I think had a respiratory arrest with it. It can cause a bad pneumonia in small children or children with immunodeficiency or young children. So that's the story on this this amoxicillin shortage, which I don't think is a crisis for you and me. The pediatricians are probably pooping in their panties over it, but they'll get over it. And by the way, the respiratory syncytial virus is not treatable. So, they're probably giving amoxicillin just to make the parents feel better. Thinking,
Really?
Yeah. Sometimes you treat the patient, sometimes you treat the family, sometimes you treat the staff. It just depends. You kind of have to. It's a little bit like a juggling
Not
act.
going to hurt them at all. So
You got to, you got to keep everybody happy. You don't want to, and sometimes you got to treat society and say, why didn't you give that patient blah 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 blah? And you say, oh God, I should have. And so then you get on the phone and give it to them, and it doesn't do anything. But people think they think
because they read it on the internet, that's what you should be doing.
That's what you should be doing. That's right. And drink more water. Yeah, right. And take those little what do they call them? The nature's balance. I'm like, well, I don't understand. Why don't you just go eat an apple or get some green beans? I mean, what? You take 2 pills and a glass of water, and it re-expands to a plate full of green beans. Is that how it works? I don't get it.
I don't know. I don't take it myself, so I don't know.
But
I like green beans.
that guy is making hundreds of millions of dollars on that stuff.
Everybody wants simple lifestyle.
Everybody wants they want a panacea. They want a miracle cure, and
That's right. They want to eat their pizzas and have some sort of cure, a pill to take care of the rest of it.
yeah, they want their cake and eat it. I mean, eat it too. They want their pizza and eat it too.
Exactly.
And people say, I'm going to change my diet. And I say, don't change your diet. Just cut down. I mean, instead of 2 pieces of pizza, cut down to 1. Instead of 2 scoops of ice cream, cut down to 1. Increase your activity. You'll lose weight. You'll feel better. Your cholesterol will get better most of the time. Some people, of course, have a problem genetically with their cholesterol. And then
some people just forget to take their pills.
Yeah, and there's other people that just are genetically addicted to things like tobacco. And we don't know anybody like that.
But I forgot to take my cholesterol pill, Doc.
You better take that and get off those
6 months.
cigarettes.
I just realized I haven't been taking it for about 3 months.
So there's several drug companies that are short on the amoxicillin. Aurobindo is short. You can call them. And Rising Pharmacy. Who else? I think Teva is short. So there are several companies that are having a problem getting enough of this product out. So this is what I say to the pediatricians. Hey, you don't treat anything anyway. Why are you wasting amoxicillin on something that doesn't work? Do you get that?
No, but it makes sense. If mom's saying give him something, give him something.
Yeah, well, give him
Okay, well, try this. It's not going to hurt him.
Yeah. I mean, amoxicillin's fairly innocuous. Maybe one in 100,000 people are allergic to penicillins, and that will. Well, my camera just died, so we'll just transition over. At any rate, they can still hear me. They just can't see me. But we'll put the Dr. Bill screen up there if you're looking at the live feed on Facebook or YouTube. You still got me. Hey, guess what? I don't have to look in the camera all during the show.
See? There are advantages to just doing radio.
There are. If anybody's listening, that is.
Oh, they are. Trust me. They're there.
So, at any rate, we had that, and then I had a Canadian guy come in, an older guy in his late 60s, early 70s, and he apparently had prostate cancer and had a prostatectomy or whatever, and that he had radiation and treatment and all that, and he developed a stricture in his urethra, and so he couldn't pee. So then he, I guess, backed up urine up into his kidneys, and they had to put a Foley catheter in him up north, but I don't think anybody ever checked his kidney functions. Kenny came in, he was septic, he had a bad infection, bladder, urinary tract infection, he was in acute renal failure. I mean, bad renal failure. Like creatinine of 7 and BUN of 200, where normal creatinine is 1 and normal BUN is 20. So he was like 10 times over normal. We had to dialyze him. He's on antibiotics. Went into atrial fibrillation, and I'm thinking to myself, what the hell do they do up in Canada?
No kidding.
No, I'm not kidding you. And I said to the wife, I said, didn't anybody check his blood work? She said, no. I was like, the guy's in renal failure. I mean, I don't know if he was in renal failure up north. It could be acute because he did have a bleed in his stomach and he dropped his blood count fairly low. We had to transfuse him. So it could have been kidney failure from the shock. It could have been kidney failure from the infection and the sepsis, the blood-borne infection. Could have been a combination of things. But you would think that if you're going to decompress somebody's bladder and put a Foley catheter in them, that you would want to at least check some baseline chemistries and a CBC, but I don't know. I don't get it. I don't know.
That you would check the kidneys, absolutely.
You would check the kidneys. Now, I did do an ultrasound on his kidneys. I ordered that, and it doesn't look like he has chronic damage, like long-standing high blood pressure or diabetes, which can, of course, damage your kidneys. And the most common cause of kidney failure, chronic kidney failure in the United States, is hypertension, and then followed closely by diabetes. So it is a problem, but hopefully he'll come back. Now he's in atrial fibrillation, so today I'm going to have to put him to sleep and shock him back into a normal rhythm. Atrial fibrillation is when the top of the heart has this fast, irregular heart rhythm, kind of like multi-site electrical discharges, and the rate can be 200 to 300. And if that gets down into the bottom part of the heart, the ventricles, which are the pumping chambers, and speeds up too much, then you can go into heart failure and have rhythm disturbances in the ventricle, and that's what's fatal. A lot of people live with chronic atrial fibrillation. We just control the heart rate. But I'm going to knock him out this afternoon and put a little electricity, give him a little Duke Energy through his chest. Make that puppy jump. Make that.
Well, that's you have an interesting life there, Doc. I mean, that's what you're doing on a Sunday afternoon, huh?
That's what I'm doing. Oh, I got another guy out cleaning out another one of the ponds. Oh, the community. Oh, they're all a tither and oh my God, I was attacked. They had a meeting after our board meeting. Was it Tuesday, I think? And the mean girls got together and they were bad-mouthing me and bad-mouthing JT, and so I went down to talk to one of the women, Gilda, and I said, and I had actually run off some information on freedom of speech, because they think that the First Amendment applies to a board meeting, which, as you know, it does not. Did you know that? You can.
Why not?
Because the First Amendment, in fact, all of the amendments, they're a contract between you and your government. They're not a contract between you and your employer. They're not a contract between you and your neighbor. They're not a contract between you and your private school. If it's a governmental agency, whether it's federal, state, local, whether it's a public school, a school board, a city council meeting, as long as there are some rules and regulations and orderly followed, then you can speak and you can say what you have to say. You can go down to the park, the public park, and you can put a soapbox up, and you can say, Jesus is Lord, or Allah is God, or Dr. Bill is handsome. And which is number 3 actually is the best one to use. But freedom of speech
all the time. I see people saying that all the time.
But the First Amendment, now here's what it says: Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. So you can believe what you want to believe. You can believe that bluebells are God, and the government can't establish a state religion. So unlike England, with the Tudors and the Stuarts and so on and so forth, the state religion went from Catholicism under Henry VIII to Anglicanism and so on and so forth. or abridging the freedom of speech. So you have the freedom to speak when you're dealing with a government agency or a government setting, or of the press or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. What does that mean, Ken? It means that you can get a bunch of people together, you can fill out forms, and you can have recalls of people who you don't like in office. You can petition for a change in the laws. You can petition for an apology from the president. Not that you'll get it, but you can do that. You have that right, and the government can't do anything to you. There can be no reprisals for speaking your mind on government issues, on politics. But now, this amendment gives Americans the right to express themselves verbally and through publication without government interference. It also prevents the government from establishing a state religion and favoring one religion over others. And finally, it protects Americans' rights to gather in groups for social, economic, political, or religious purposes, sign petitions, and even file a lawsuit against the government. You didn't know you could sue the government, did you?
I thought it was illegal to sue the government.
It is not. There are certain things you cannot sue for and certain things that you can sue for. And for instance, because of the restrictions on lawsuits against, say, the military, you see all this Camp Lejeune stuff. Well, what happened is, of course, Congress is mostly lawyers, and they want to take care of their own people, and they also want the votes of the veterans, and so they just passed a law saying that, yeah, this is true. Camp Lejeune, the benzene leaked into the water from storage tanks, and now you're all going to die, so everybody gets some money. And I don't know that there's any proof that there's any increased incidents, but you know a lot of people are going to jump on that bandwagon.
Anybody who ever walked by the base is going to jump on it. Yeah.
I drove by and it made my knee swell up, and I think
see, yeah,
I'm going to sue.
But what you're saying is because you're a private entity, free speech is not. No,
it doesn't exist.
Now, if you have a meeting, you have an agenda where you usually have public comment.
No, if it's a corporate board meeting, you know, a corporation is not unless it's a corporation that's involved with the federal government or the state or local government. It's a private entity, and you don't have the right to speak out and say whatever you want. You do not. And Robert's Rules of Orders and the Florida statutes and our own bylaws say that you can speak at an HOA board meeting, a homeowners association board meeting, on matters that are on the agenda and being discussed. So, like if I bring up the ponds, somebody can say, do we have the right pumps for the fountains, or did we get bad pumps? Or they can say, I've done my research and I think these pumps that you bought, Dr. Bill, are not good pumps and we need to replace them. And then we say, well, we'd love to see your research. But if you start saying, you're an idiot and you don't have the, you're out of order. That is out of order. Now, when the First Amendment, while the First Amendment acknowledges and protects these rights to free speech in the public forum, and there are limitations to how the amendment can be invoked. For instance, people are free to express themselves through publication. However, false or defamatory statements called libel are not protected under the First Amendment. And you say, well, how can these politicians all be accusing each other of these things that we know are not true? Well, it's a little bit different when you're a public figure, because the courts have determined that you are actually putting yourself out there and you are giving up certain rights in order to be able to run for office or be a movie star or whatever. And by the way, you saw where, who was it? Who's the movie star that was that played in Pirates of the Caribbean? What's his name? And he sued his former wife for.
Yeah, the whole thing was on trial for about 6 weeks there.
Yeah. Any rate, he actually won. He won a defamation.
Yes, he did. Yes,
he won that. So
Johnny Depp.
Yeah, even if you are a public figure, if somebody privately and personally defames you, now if the press says, "Oh, you're an ugly, low down, no good son of a mother," then and you're a movie star or an actor or an actress, they can say that. But now, if your ex-wife says, he abused me and he raped me and he stole all my money, and it's a lie, that's defamation. You can't do that. And that's the same way in a homeowners association. These people, some of them in here, are making up lies about the officers, about JT and about me. And the latest is that I don't like women. What are you talking about? I mean,
You're married to one.
I'm married to one, and that's like saying, you don't like Korean. Yeah, I do. The food's pretty good, too. But the First Amendment only protects your speech from government censorship. It applies to federal, state, and local actors, government actors. This is a broad category that includes not only lawmakers and elected officials, but also public schools and universities, courts, and police officers. It does not include private citizens, businesses, and organizations. That means that a private school can suspend a student for criticizing a school policy, Ken. Did you know that?
I did, yes. That's usually in the school rules.
Yeah, and that's private schools. Now, if you're in a public school and you criticize it, you can do that. Now, there was a case back in the 60s where kids in junior high school wore black armbands in the early 60s, mid-60s, to protest the Vietnam War, and the principal sent them home, and the parents sued. Guess what? The Supreme Court sided with the kids. It's a public school.
It's a public school. Okay.
Yeah.
You're right. I was in private school, so.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you know, Catholic private school, you express your opinion, you got whacked.
Well, they tell you what to wear. You know,
you got your little knuckles whacked, or if you were in high school, you got a fat lip from.
You had that little tie on, or you were in trouble.
Yeah, from Brother Josephus, he'd give you a whack.
And they were scary.
They were, especially when you're a freshman or sophomore, you're not big enough.
God behind you.
You're not big enough to fight back, and they got God and your parents.
That's right.
Ooh,
you never had a chance.
Never had a chance. So
you put the tie on. That's right.
Did you know that a private business can fire an employee for expressing political views on the job? Did you know that?
I know. I don't think they could, in a sense of clothing, but they can do it just verbally too. Apparently,
if you start talking, pushing your candidates, so I'm conservative.
You're wasting time, yeah.
And my employees are liberal. You know, they're young, they're black, and of course they're Democrats. They're careful not to talk politics in the office. But now I can talk politics because it's my business.
You own the place.
I own the place. So,
well, yeah, I can see that. Sure, it should be. You shouldn't be able to waste time on somebody else's dollar.
Yeah, and a private media company can refuse to publish or broadcast opinions it disagrees with. So, Twitter and Facebook and YouTube, these are private companies. And if they don't like what you're saying, it doesn't matter whether you're the president or you're Dr. Bill, they'll take you off. And you don't have any recourse. Now, Congress is trying to come up with some kind of laws to say that if you're using the internet, the World Wide Web, or whatever you want to call it, that there has to be more freedom even if you're a private company, if you're offering public services, in the sense that you're allowing anybody to join and express an opinion. And if you don't like the opinion, you won't be able to take it off if Congress can pass something. But now the First Amendment does not prohibit private individuals, companies, and employers from restricting speech.
So right now what they're doing is legal.
What they're doing is absolutely legal. And Congress is trying to figure out, how can we pass a law? Of course, the Democrats, they still want to restrict the Republican speech, but you can't have it both ways.
Well, it should be more of a utility where everybody just jumps on and uses it the way they need to.
Yeah, and by the way, the UN individual who is head of whatever branch of the UN is involved with public notices and speech and all that, has written a letter to Elon Musk asking him to please make sure that he doesn't allow speech that they don't approve of. It's a little more couched than that. It's like, I
hope so.
We don't want to see.
That's what they're saying.
We don't want to see the platform be used to create racial and political and international divides. Come on, give me a break. How are you going to stop that? People are going to say
they already exist.
They already exist. So do private companies have to allow free speech, or does that violate my freedom of speech? No. The First Amendment does not limit private employers. The Bill of Rights and the First Amendment limit only government actors, not private actors. This means that private employers can restrict employee speech in the workplace without running afoul of the First Amendment. And the same thing in a corporate board meeting. And so the board meetings before I took over as, are you there?
I'm here, yeah.
The board meetings before I took over as president were people yelling and screaming and shaking their fist and carrying on and cursing and dropping the F word, and I was appalled. This is not the way meetings run. I've been a doctor for 45 years. I've been on dozens and dozens of committees. I've been head of departments, chairman of different committees, and you know what? You don't do that. You do not do that. That is not allowed. And the meetings that are really the worst meetings are where you have a weak president or a weak chairman, and he doesn't keep order. And then people start speaking out, and you have an agenda, and you're going to discuss, let's say, the policy on the use of an antibiotic in the hospital. And then one of the doctors jumps up and says, I got a problem with nurse so-and-so and this patient. That's not on the agenda. And, a good chairman will say, that's not on the agenda. If you want to put it on the agenda, you bring it to the medical staff secretary on Monday, and we'll see if we can fit it in for the next meeting. And that's exactly what I do here in our meetings, is I say, that's not on the agenda. And if they keep speaking, then I mute them because we're on Zoom. And I'm not putting up with that. This is a business meeting. We are running a business. This is not the Boys and Girls Club of America. It's not a social meeting. It's not a neighborhood watch association. It's a corporation, Ken. And we've got
Plus, you're spending your time doing it. I mean, you want to.
And you know what? And we're working for free. And I bet I put in 1,000 hours this past year and a half. 1,000 hours on this, and I'm not getting paid.
Yeah, so you have the right to demand order at a meeting. Absolutely.
Well, now I'm a dictator, and I don't like women. Of course, the women want to speak out. Well, go to your girlfriend's house and your boyfriend or whatever, your husband, and tell them what you think. I mean, my wife doesn't have any trouble telling me what she thinks. So I don't know what the problem is. You can
just play by the rules, and you can speak at the next meeting. It's not that tough.
So, the board meeting is not a public forum. And freedom of speech does not apply to corporate board meetings or corporations. And slander and libel are not free speech. And I implemented a policy here, a rule that you could not harass or defame or speak negatively about not only board members but your neighbors. That's illegal. I mean, it's not illegal in the sense that you'll be arrested, but it actually, by the way, under Florida statutes, it is illegal to harass somebody, and you can get a restraining order, and if they break that restraining order, you can have them arrested. But as far as slander and libel go, that's the civil side of law. But harassment can be tried both under civil law as a lawsuit for defamation, and also as a criminal act if you persist after you've been cautioned and you've been given an order by the court to stop, and you keep doing it, then you can call the police and have them arrested and file a criminal charge. So
I've seen it done. It's been done many times.
Yeah, it's been done, and I told I'm telling the community. I'm saying, look, you're putting this stuff out on the web page, on our Facebook web page, which, by the way, I took down because it just has deteriorated into a name calling page, and the lawyers will tell you, if you have a community association, an HOA or a condo association, do not have a website. The lawyers say it's just trouble. It can open up lawsuits. It can be a real problem, and so I took it down. I said, we got to get rid of this. This is just it's like inciting a riot,
Sure.
And so corporate board meetings have an agenda, and we're all expected to show reserve and behave respectfully and to follow Robert's Rules of Order. And that's just the way it works. And I'm sorry, but people think the First Amendment means you can, run up and down the street naked yelling whatever you want. You can't. That's not free speech. But what are you going to do?
You free up the Facebook so you can put it all there.
Well,
put it on your homepage. Don't put it on the doc's page.
And if you want to go on Twitter and say, I think that Donald Trump is a mean, no good, low down SOB, you should have the freedom to say that. And if Trump wants to come back and say, yes, it's true, I am an SOB, and yes, it's true, I can be mean, but I'm a good guy who did a lot of good things for the country. I mean, he can say that. Now, if you go on there and say, Bill Handelman hates women, then that's liable because you're defaming me. And if you defame somebody who is a doctor or a lawyer in a public setting, and that gets back to their state board, they can take action against you and,
sure.
and say, did you really do this? Did you really tell this woman in your office that you hate her and you hate all women? And she complained and brought this forward, and we saw this on Facebook, and now we need you in here because we can't have a misogynist practicing medicine in our state. So you do have the right to defend your name and your character. And that's what I've done here with our homeowners association. And there's a small group of people that don't like it because they want to say what they want to say, and they want to tell you what they think about you at every turn of the corner. Well,
plus, it's the homeowner's page. It's not their page. I mean, you have control over it. So
it ain't there anymore, baby. It's gone.
But it's gone now. But you have the right to do that. I mean, you're not. That's not a blockage. You're not blocking anybody's free speech.
No. And by the way, you know what else I have a right to?
A commercial.
A potty break.
Right.
I got a right
to
to
the clock myself. We're really late today. And we got to do a question. I got a question here.
Give us a question, Ken.
And we'll get you to the potty as soon as we can here. To Dr. Bill, your Radio MD coffee mug's up for grab right now at 877-969-8600 if you know the answer to the following question. First caller will win. Today's question is, what body part is Doc thinking about replacing? Now, if you were listening to the beginning of the show, you know all about it. 877-969-8600, 877-969-8600. Call now. First correct caller wins. To Dr. Bill, your Radio MD coffee mugs. Doc, we'll see you on the other side.
All right, buddy. I'll be right back. I'm Dr. Bill, your Radio MD.
The latest from the Answer News Center.
With SRN News, I'm Michael Harrington in Washington. President Biden being blasted by a powerful fellow Democrat. West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin calls President cavalier and, quote, divorced from reality. He's leveling that criticism after Mr. Biden vowed to shutter coal-fired power plants and rely more heavily on wind and solar energy in the future. The powerful coal state lawmaker says Biden's words at a campaign stop in California, quote, ignore the severe economic pain for people from higher energy prices and are why Americans are, in his words, losing trust in President Biden. Residents in southeastern Oklahoma and northeastern Texas cleaning up in the wake of devastating tornadoes that came through the region and killed 2 people last week. And the Houston Astros have clinched their second World Series title in 6 seasons with a 4-1 win over the Philadelphia Phillies in Game 6 last night. This is SRN News.
AM 860, The Answer. Listen on our website, theanswertampa.com, on 93.7 FM, W229DJ Dunedin, by downloading the Answer Tampa app or on TuneIn or Odyssey.
Dr. Bill for Bay Area Medical, located at 6399 38th Avenue North in St. Pete, 727-384-6411, 727-384-6411. Full service clinic with x-ray, heart imaging, ultrasound, stress testing, and minor surgery. We provide quality health care in a warm and friendly atmosphere. We are multilingual, well-trained, and certified. Most American insurance and new patients accepted. Bay Area Medical, home of Can Care, 727-384-6411, 727-384-6411.
Dr. Bill here. With social distancing and sheltering in place, telemedicine is here. Bay Area Medical, home of Can Care Clinic offers telemedicine for new and established patients. You can see me without an in-office visit. Schedule an appointment at 727-384-6411, 727-384-6411. When it's time for your appointment, type this web address into your cell phone or computer web browser, doxy.me/Bay Area Med. A cell phone works well and is all you really need For computers, you need a web camera and speakers. We'll give you this address when you call for your appointment. We accept most insurances and travel insurances. Canadians and visitors, please call your travel insurance company for an authorization number prior to the visit. Copays and deductibles apply. Self-pay rates are available. Just ask. We accept credit cards, PayPal, and Stripe. 727-384-6411. 727-384-6411. Dr. Bill here. My friends at St. Pete MRI and Sleep Diagnostics are your best choice for state-of-the-art MRI, CT, and sleep studies. Quality unsurpassed. 25 years experience makes St. Pete MRI my go-to imaging center. Self-pay rates are competitive and out-of-pocket cost a fraction of a hospital. Conveniently accessible from both sides of the bay at 750 94th Avenue North, St. Pete, near the Gandhi. 727-577-2220. 727-577-2220.
The latest from AccuWeather at the top and bottom of the hour. Only on AM 860, The Answer.
Today we'll have variable clouds. We'll pass a shower or two in the afternoon. The high will be 88. Tonight, clear skies and a low 69. Tomorrow, partly sunny with a high 87. Tuesday, low clouds, then perhaps some sun. It'll be breezy in the afternoon with a high 86. Playing with confidence, download the redesigned AccuWeather app today. That's your AccuWeather forecast. I'm Garrett Beck for AM 860, The Answer.
And we're back. This is Dr. Bill. We're 48 hours away from elections. And as I was telling you before the break, this woman who is, what's her United Nations, she's the human rights chief, Volker Turk. And she urges Musk, Twitter's new owner, to ensure human rights are central to the management of Twitter. And she wants him to make sure that false information is not spread like the anti-vacciners were trying to do during the COVID epidemic. I guess we still are somewhat in an epidemic.
We are still.
And, so she says to foster users' rights to privacy and free expression. I'm not sure what that means, but I don't know how you can express yourself freely and then have privacy. Wait a minute. It's a little confusing.
Yeah, they want it all, you know.
And she wants free speech. It's not a free pass, she says. Free speech is not a free pass. She wants responsibility and no spreading false information about the vaccines. By the way, you know, Elon, I think he's canned about half of the staff.
I heard that yesterday. Yeah.
And he said
he also said the company's not as profitable as he thought.
Yeah, he said it's losing $4 million a day.
Yeah.
So, at any rate, she doesn't want it to descend into a free-for-all hellscape. I'm not quite sure what that means. I guess that means I can't say go get a COVID vaccine because I'd be saying something about the vaccine, and if I'm not...
It means you can't disagree with me.
Yeah. Excuse me. Meanwhile, Jack Dorsey, who was the former CEO and co-founder of Twitter, I did not know that he and Musk are buddies. They had a bromance, I guess, at one point. And I guess that Dorsey previously claimed Elon Musk was the singular solution for Twitter. Can you believe that?
Well, you know, the billionaires, they stick together.
Yeah. And I guess that Dorsey wanted Elon on the board, and Elon said, sure, if I can have a big chunk of the company. And they said no. The board said, no, we don't want that. And Elon said, okay, I'll just buy your ass then. And that was the end of it.
I'll just buy it and fire you all.
And now Dorsey's saying, since it's come to light that the company's losing money, Dorsey is saying, oh, maybe I made some mistakes and grew the company too fast. Yeah, I think you did. And I think you also pumped it up to be worth more than it really is. But I guess Elon's saying he's losing $4 million a day on the company. So
I hope he turns it around.
Yeah. Well, I think he's already started it. I think there's an $8 minimum if you get a little blue bird or whatever it is, and then if you want to do a higher level, it's $20 a month. So, and you know, there should be some. There should be if you want to get on social media, you should have to pay a little something. I don't know if we can have a sliding scale or not.
Well, it depends. I can see. I'm trying to think of an equivalent here. Even like the Weather Channel, you get your basic weather if you just click on it. But if you want to subscribe to them, you can pay them a few bucks and they'll give you a more detailed forecast. So it's.
Yep.
Everybody does it.
Yep.
By the way, we have a winner.
Who we got?
We have Tajan Wiley.
Tajan?
Tajan Wiley.
Tajan.
Yes, of St. Pete.
Well,
was our first caller with the correct answer, and he knew that Dr. Bill is considering having a body part replaced. What part is that, Doc?
My right knee.
That's right. He knew that. He's going to get himself two, count them, two Dr. Bill, your Radio MD coffee mugs in just a few short days, hopefully.
And we thank you to John. We really appreciate all those people out there that are listening, and I love you guys, and I hope that this is in some way entertaining and helpful to you on Sunday mornings. It does me good. I don't know about you, Ken, but, well, you're getting paid, Ken, so.
Well, John did say to me, he said, make sure you tell the doc for me that he loves the show because he learns so much.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you.
He takes notes during the show.
Get out of town, dude.
He does, to make sure he's got the answer for the question.
Let's see, what's Dr. Bill up to this week? Did he get a Foley catheter put in?
So keep it up, John. Yeah.
Keep it up, buddy. Keep it up. So at any rate, nobody had really heard from Dorsey, the co-founder of Twitter and the CEO. And so Ed Zitron, a former insider and Atlantic magazine writer, jokingly asked if Dorsey had gone into witness protection. But now he's speaking out. I guess he's being shamed by the press, and they want to know what's going on with him. And
he's probably got an island somewhere he just sits on.
Yeah, and Elon, this guy, I don't know how's he going to run all these companies? He's going to have to take some time to get Twitter turned around. I think it's going to be a hell of a success in a couple of years. But the naysayers are saying, well, it's an older platform and the kids aren't going to use it. They're going to go to the newer platforms, the newer social media platforms, and which I don't know a whole lot about, Ken. But
well, it's a gamble for him. When was the last time anybody's been on MySpace?
Mm-hmm.
These things do disappear.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see what he can do with it. But I hope SpaceX doesn't suffer because they're doing so great.
Well, he's probably got that running fairly well. I'm sure he has a COO that's doing the day-to-day for him, and probably the same with Tesla. But the question,
he'll probably do that with Twitter too eventually.
Yeah, he'll have to get it turned around some, and he'll have to make the hard decisions because he's apparently being sued by the former employees that he just laid off, and I don't know what their lawsuit is. I guess there's something out in California that you can't lay off people unless you call their mother and give them a heads up or whatever.
I think you got to give somebody 30 days notice, the government or something like that.
I don't know.
He gave them all a test, apparently. He had them work like 80 hours for 2 weeks.
Yeah, and
who was going to do that? Who was really dedicated to it?
And you got to remember that some of these state laws, they haven't really been tried in court at the federal level. Then nobody's challenged it. So you never know. If you challenge it and it goes up to the Supreme Court, they may say, well, this law is illegal. It's unconstitutional or whatever. For instance, we have a law in Florida, and this is a problem I'm having with one of the homeowners. He put up a flagpole on our property in front of his house.
Well, that sounds wrong.
Yeah, and he said that the board gave him the right to do that 20 years ago. The board didn't have the right to do that. And then he went and he said, look, there's a law that says that I can have a flag at my home. That's not your home, dude. That's community property. And so I read the state statute in Florida. It says that you can have a flagpole no higher than 20 feet, and you can fly the American flag.
On your own property.
On your own property, yeah. And so our bylaws say that if you do have a flagpole, if you have one at your house, which is going to be hard to do, it cannot be higher than the eaves. And he said, well, mine's not higher than the eaves. It's only 20 feet. I'm like, dude, these are 2-story homes. The eaves are, the lower level eaves are at 8 or 10 feet. At any rate, so.
That's right, yeah.
But guess what? The state statute, it's not been tried in court yet. It, I think, is unconstitutional. And I've read the federal statute, which really is much more restrictive. It says you can have a flag at your home, and you can fly it on certain holidays, and those can be regulated by your homeowners association, or if you don't have a homeowners association, you can fly it anytime you want. But if you have a homeowners association, they can regulate it to the 10 federal holidays, one of which, by the way, for those who think I don't like women, is Mother's Day.
I didn't know that.
But not Father's Day.
But not Father's Day.
But not Father's Day. And I think that is, I think
so.
It's unequal, it's unconstitutional, and it hurts my feelings.
I'm pretty upset now, too.
I am too, and I may not even talk about it anymore. At any rate,
look at all the fathers who fought for this country over the centuries.
Oh, who cares about them? Bunch of old goats. Who cares about guys that go out and build things and
build economies
and build economies and keep the community up and running and wires hanging down and some old goat named Handelman goes out and with his scaffolding and rolls it up to the clubhouse and gets the wire back up so nobody gets shocked. But we're just guys.
That's right. We don't need no flag flying for you.
We don't need no flag. We don't need recognition. We need beer. We need beer. We need football, and we need a sandwich, and that's
really fast cars.
That's right. So, at any rate, North Korea fired 4 ballistic missiles over South Korea because the United States and South Korea were holding a joint military exercise. And guess what? We were also flying a couple of our B-1s or B-2s. The bombers that are stealth.
Well, the picture I saw had about 8 aircraft together. It looked like we had B-1s in there and
F-16s,
F-35s, and
F-35s. That F-16 is still being manufactured. That plane came out.
Countries love it.
That plane came out.
It's so nimble, Doc. It's crazy.
It's a hell of a plane, and we're selling them too.
Other countries love them.
They love them. It's maneuverable, and it's not as fast as the 5th and 6th generations, but it's highly maneuverable. And it, I guess, according to Tom Hanks in the remake of his movie, what was it?
Maverick or the Top Gun?
Yeah, Top Gun 2 that came out. We saw that up at the clubhouse. One of the kids put it up, and he ended up in an F-16 being chased by a 6th generation fighter. And he won. He beat the damn plane. I don't know how he did it. His co-pilot's like, "You're not as fast, but you have to use your tactics. Let your instincts take over." And he damn did it. I don't know if he really.
In real life, that fight's going to go that way, but
yeah, apparently it's still a good plane. At any rate, so
I'll take one.
Yeah, the North Koreans are firing missiles over South Korea and.
They've shot a lot of those off. They must be getting a little low.
Yeah, and I think one of them misfired. They couldn't get it off the pad. So now here's something interesting that I thought was a good thing. Florida medical boards restrict doctors from providing gender treatment to minors, and that's fine with me. We should not be in the business of convincing kids that they were born a woman when they were born a man or whatever. And did you see that the governor of Arizona, her husband is a psychiatrist who does counseling for transgender, for kids who want to change their gender? Well, come on, he's making money off of this by selling this nonsense and trying to change the rules of nature, the laws of nature. It's a good thing, and doctors should be, in my opinion, there should be a national law outlawing doctors from participating in any kind of gender change, whether it's psychiatric counseling or whether it's the actual surgical intervention. This is craziness. I mean, of course, there are going to be medical situations where there are genetic diseases or there's testosterone insensitivity, and there are different things where there's ambiguous genitalia, and the kids should have a right when they become adolescents to decide what they want to be, but that's a medical condition, Ken. I mean, psychological conditions are not reasons to mutilate people. This is
they should be forced to wait till 21 to make a decision like that.
Well, come on, it shouldn't even be allowed. This nonsense. The people that do that that have no medical reason to do it are crazy. And, I've talked to several of them. They're nuts. And that doesn't mean I don't like them and I won't treat them and take care of them, but come on. They're not any happier after they become a man to a woman or a woman to a man. They're no happier. They have the same emotional problems they had before.
So we have doctors and psychologists preying on these guys and gals.
Yep.
Yeah, saying I can help you.
Yep, and you'll be happier if you get your thingy cut off and tucked in. Come on, that's external. Happiness, Ken, it comes from within. It's an internal thing. It doesn't have anything to do with the shingles on the house. It has to do with what's inside the house.
That's right, exactly.
At any rate, so did you hear China's Xi warns Putin not to use nuclear arms in the Ukraine? China
did? I hadn't heard that. But
yeah. He makes the call during a visit by German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, who went over there. And, Scholz, Xi's trying to buddy up and get closer to Scholz and the Germans. And so he got on the phone while Scholz was there and told Putin to not use nukes. I think that's a good idea, because if he uses nukes and Europeans and Americans get involved, then China's going to be on the stage to have to make a decision what they're going to do, and that's not a good decision to make.
Well, they don't want anything messing with the money. You know what I mean?
No, they want
those economies humming along as much as possible.
Money and power. That's what the 96,000 communists in a nation of 1.6 billion want. They want to maintain the power, and they want the money, and they're as corrupt as all get out. And I don't know if they'll ever not be corrupt. I think that the way to end corruption, or to at least control it better, is with a democracy, because then you got spotlights and eyeballs all over the place.
Yes, if you don't have any checks, you're in trouble.
Yeah, if you don't have checks and balances, if you don't have a free society, if you don't have a free press, you just don't have a secure, honest, and I'm not saying that we're 100% honest. Obviously, there's going to be cheating, and there's always going to be people who try to game the system, but it's a lot easier to game it if there's nobody looking at you.
Well, yeah, you end up with a bunch of oligarchs, and
yeah,
all the money is concentrated in 10 people.
Yeah, and that's not a good thing. We don't like that at all. That is not a good thing. At any rate, boy, we talked about a lot of stuff today.
We got about 2 minutes left. Where do you want to go from here?
I want to tell you, we're really doing well with the practice. I don't know why I'm getting new patients all the time, and it's picking up. Of course, the Canadians are coming back, and we welcome them back. Our Canadian cousins are always welcome, and I like that. They come with problems that are interesting, and they haven't had some of them haven't had the adequate care that they need, and so it's a real opportunity for me to practice my skills and do a little general medicine as well as the cardiology. So appreciate that, and looking forward to seeing you guys back. I don't know if Pryor Smith's going to do a show this year. We're not going to sponsor it, Ken. It just is not getting us enough business, and I love Pryor to death. I don't know if you know him.
I've never met him in person, but I enjoyed the show.
Yeah, he does a nice little newscast during the season for the Canadians.
Canada Calling, I believe.
Canada Calling, and we'll give him a shout out for that. Canada Calling, there you go. And also give a shout out to St. Pete MRI, where I got my MRI of my knee done. They did a good job. I can't complain. I fell asleep during the study, which is, I mean, it goes to show you they really take care of you, because those MRI scanners, they're so noisy. And clank, clank, and so they gave me stuff to put in my ears, and they gave me headphones to listen to some music, and I took a little nap.
Well, that's very sweet of you. That's
yeah.
Nice. And the naps are good. I like naps.
So I appreciate those guys. And as you know, we have a full-service clinic, and we do cardiac workups and echoes and carotids and ultrasounds, and I shock hearts, and I do stress tests, and then we also have a general medicine clinic, and the wife takes on a lot of people. I got to keep that woman working. She's making good money for me, buddy.
About 10 seconds, Doc. Give the phone number.
Love you guys. 727-384-6411. 727-384-6411. Bye.
Bye-bye, Doc.
Thank you for listening to Dr. Bill, your radio MD. Join Dr. Bill every Sunday morning at 9 for more insight, information, provocation, and fun. Dr. Bill Handelman practices in St. Petersburg, Florida at Bay Area Medical Can Care Clinic, 6399 38th Avenue North. For your convenience, telemedicine appointments are available. Call his office today at 727-384-6411. That's 727-384-6411. Or visit his website at cancareclinic.com.